to talk about is actually Bleach. It's about a Shinigami, which is supposed to be like another word for a Soul Reaper or something like that, and basically he just goes around hunting down spirits and like just spirits that like are fallen angels, or not fallen angels, but just spirits that like are evil, and they turn bad and they start eating other people, and he has to go and hunt them. And the show is called Bleach because one of the main characters gets like erased or something, like people forget who she is, and so in a way she gets bleached from everybody's memory. And then the first chapter of the book is, the first arc of the book is pretty much them just trying to like go and save their friend from getting executed.
私はエルです。まさか。
Another interesting anime that I've been looking at, which was I actually watched the anime before I read the manga, but it's called Death Note, and it's basically about like a young high school student who finds a demonic book that whoever's name you write into it, they will die. And the kid pretty much, he gets like a big ego, and he decides to go and like try to become a god in the world, and like he thinks he can go around killing people that are bad and criminals, and he just does whatever he wants without facing any consequences. And this is pretty much an anime for people that don't like all the crazy power-ups and the non-consistent writing that other animes have. And it's a good choice for people that are into something more realistic and more of like a crime solving kind of thing.
ありがとうだってばよ、ハチビ。影分身の術。なんだ、さっきのとは違う。
And the final work that I'm going to be talking about is called Naruto, and yeah, pretty well known. I think pretty much everyone knows this. A lot of these shows I watched on Toonami or Adult Swim here in the U.S. They're like shows that air on Cartoon Network late at night, and they just like to play a lot of anime and just like other like adult, kind of like more like teenage to adult rated content. And yeah, Naruto is like a really good show. It's about a kid who starts out as a village loser. It's about ninjas, and it's like a kid who starts out as like a village loser, and he climbs his way to the top, and he ends up becoming a hero. And he makes a best friend who like is also kind of like lonely, but his friend takes a different path than he does, and he becomes evil. And basically this whole story is about him, Naruto, the protagonist, trying to bring back his best friend Sasuke. And there's like a lot of crazy ninja fights that go on, and like there's like a great ninja war that goes on, and it's actually pretty interesting. I liked it a lot. And the animation and just the artwork is very gorgeous and flawless. You can tell they put a lot of time and effort into making this art, and that's something that they should really be appreciated, the mangaka, the creators of the manga. So one thing I will talk about is that the line quality in anime is crazy. Like there's moments when you'll have horizontal lines, which is just like kind of like, just sleep, quiet, and activity. Then there's times when you'll get those horizontal lines, which is just like aspiration and yearning. You'll get diagonal lines, which kind of like represents movement. And in this show, like when there's action sequences, you can see like all the little like just action lines just kind of zoom in all over the place surrounding the character, kind of like a radial perspective. All the lines kind of just starting towards the center and kind of moving out. I think I can find an example of that here in Naruto. Yeah, just here we go. Perfect example. Like that giant Susanoo is just crushing the ground, and like it's making all the little like action lines because it's symbolizing movement. And also like the line quality in the words gets really dark and bold to show that it's like a really big action. Like if it was something small, they'd be like small little whimsy letters, like over here when Karin is talking. Here like text are just like little simple text bubbles, but then when the action goes on, you can clearly see that it like all these action lines everywhere, the bold, the sound effects are like in bold, and they're really dark and fat. Like they really increase the just the words, the font just got really thick, and it shows like the action going on. Another interesting thing to look at is when there's a very serious scene in the manga, the book will usually take up the whole book, like while it's open, and kind of give you like a 1 point perspective, like kind of eye level with the character. You know, you kind of get to see their eye. You know, you kind of get to see them face to face up close, and like you get a real idea for the energy, and just like if they're evil people, you know, they'll be making, like, you can just see it in their face, like you can just see the energy. There's so much detail that goes into this. There's like a lot of gesture lines that just show like just the beat upness on his face. They just give all those details. There's like a lot of, you know, contour lines, and there's a lot of like hatching, a lot of hatching going on in this, like a lot of cross hatching. Like there's a lot of parallel lines going around an object, and they also cross a lot to create better effects. Here's a good example of all that. You see a lot of cross hatching on his cheeks. You can see a lot of gesture lines just like in his hair. You know, just like a very gesture line sort of thing. It was supposed to be like a really quick glance, like just like a 1 second glance in an anime. And it's just supposed to be like really serious, really dark tone. Just worries you, you know, you should be worried at this point, like this guy's about to kill you. One way that the media actually affects, you know, Japanese manga in America is that, you know, when it started out in America, you know, we started out with things like Astro Boy, things that were just really basic and old school, and actually that's kind of crazy because we started out with basic things. Like people didn't even think the industry was going to last. Like in the 70s, people thought the industry was going to crash because they thought it wasn't going to last. You know, the industry wasn't really going to like thrive, but things ended up turning up in the 80s. In the 80s, things turned up a little bit. You know, a couple mangas came out, and then in the 90s is when it just flourished. Like a lot of interesting things came out, like Dragon Ball Z, for example. Like everybody loved. I mean, I guess that came out in the 80s, which is kind of part of the 80s. But yeah, like everybody loved Dragon Ball. That was actually one of the best animes out there. And actually, I'm not going to be talking about that one in this video, but definitely a big contributor to like helping anime rise in the 90s, because it really was looking gloomy for a moment there, and like people didn't think it was going to survive. One technique that anime can use to try to, you know, play a flashback or something is that they will draw the main person in regular tinting and hues, and they will draw their thought or whatever they're remembering kind of like in a weird saturation or color. And here's a good example of that, where the girl, I kind of forget her name, just thinking about L, and she's kind of like in dark colors and shading, and it's just kind of used, it's a technique used to just remember things. Each anime does it differently, like they all remember things differently. Like if I pull out Bleach, you know, maybe there'll be an image moment where they remember something. But yeah, I know a lot of anime just when they want to remember something, they'll put it in a different color or a different shading just to like kind of like let you know. You know, an interesting thing about Naruto is that the artist, which is the creator, which is Masashi Kishimoto, he actually puts a lot of thoughts and meanings into the main characters. Like for example, like Sasuke is represented by like darker colors because he's bad, so he's represented by like cooler blue, green, you know, violet colors. Whereas Naruto, since he's like the protagonist, he's represented by more bright, more warm colors like orange, red, yellows, just kind of representing like his positivity and his warmth that he gives people. And there's even one example in the actual anime when one of the characters who used to, you know, be on Sasuke's team, she joins Naruto's squad, and she's all like, she can see people's energy or chakra, and she comments like, oh wow, like his chakra is like way nicer than Sasuke's, like it's really warm and bright. And that's just like a way that like symbolism can be used behind these characters to give the deeper meaning to the artwork. So Bleach is an anime that I gotta say, it has really gorgeous artwork. Like the creator definitely puts a lot of effort into making this artwork. Like, here's an example of like just the detail put into every single page. Like, there's a lot of detail that goes into this, and it's actually read left to right. But yeah, here's more examples of just like all the lines, like all the gesture lines that are put in here. Like on the ground, there's gesture lines to show movement. Where is it? Where is it? Right around there. Yeah. There's like gesture lines on the floor beneath him showing movement. You know, like his face, his facial expressions and everything, they just show movement. There's a lot of contour lines everywhere, like surrounding him, give him that radial perspective. You know, he starts out in the middle and it all just kind of comes towards him. So yeah, and there's just like all the fonts in here are just crazy. Like these crazy Japanese, sound symbols. I don't know what they are exactly, but they just put so much more drama and intensity to the pages. Last but not least, we have Death Note. Now this anime, like I said, it doesn't really have a lot of action or anything like that. It's more for the casual reader, or like someone that wants something more realistic or more consistent in the writing. Like a lot of times animes will jump the power scaling, like in Dragon Ball Z, for example. Like, in the new season that came out, Dragon Ball Super, Future Trunks, which is a character from the future, starts out really weak, and towards the end of the Future Trunks arc, he's like taking on Zamasu with this Genki Dama Spirit Bomb sword, and like it was really inconsistent, and everyone was just like, how do you get so strong so fast? And this Death Note, full of consistency. Like, you're not going to see any crazy power-ups. It's kind of like a realistic thing with a little bit of touch of like demons and stuff. Like, you can see this like demon guy in the back. Yeah, you can see this demon guy in the background here, just kind of chilling. No one else can see him except the guy holding the Death Note, which is like the demon book where if you write people's names in it, they die. And he pretty much just goes around just playing everybody, just pretty much just, acting like he's like helping them at the same time. He's like he's the guy they're looking for. And it's a really interesting story. Very interesting. It really builds up like a lot of suspense, and like just the artwork on this is really good too. You can definitely tell all these artists put a lot of work and effort into their manga. So at the end of the day, I think that anime and manga in the US, like even though it started out kind of rough in the beginning, people have really come to like it, and like people like it now and they accept it, and people are just okay with it, and I think that's a good thing. Like, people need to just widen their horizons and explore new things, maybe get into other cultures a little bit, and if maybe something seems a little crazy to you, maybe you don't have to judge it. You could just ignore it, or just maybe think about it in a different way, because that's what the manga does. It's supposed to just expose you to other cultures, and it's a way for people to express themselves and like what they feel. And I know a lot of the mangaka people that write these things, like they work really hard. They work really hard hours, and they deserve a lot of the praise. They deserve a lot of praise. They work hard, and like not a lot of people could do what they do. They're pretty much, there's some cases of them dying from working so hard. So we should all just remember that next time we pick up a manga, and just appreciate that someone worked really hard to make this, and it's not just any little thing. Like these drawings you cannot draw this fast. Like, this takes a long time. No one can draw this quickly. And yeah, I just think it's crazy to have like a book full of art, because that's basically what it is. Like, books full of art that tell a story, which to me, that's like the best thing anyone could ask for.